From its original conception, I envisioned this film as being very, very dark, both in tone and, in visual style. And I always wanted to do a horror film set in a cave. I just thought it was a fantastic environment. Horror films are best set in the dark, and you can't get any more dark than this.
Six pretty feisty, fine-looking women decide to go caving.
Here's to our adventure. At a certain point, things start going very wrong.
We end up getting trapped in there.
They get lost amongst this sort of labyrinth of tunnels within the cave.
And this is when we found out that not only are we in the wrong cave, we are in a cave that nobody knows about.
And you see the fracture of the friendships.
Is this about me or you?
What it is about is a descent into madness and a physical descent into the depths of the earth.
And then they discover there's something else in the cave.
I just saw something ahead in the tunnel.
I'm not going to tell you a thing about the crawlers.
The crawlers basically are
A secret.
very mysterious. We haven't been allowed to see them at all until the scene, when we're actually in real time, when we're supposed to see them in the cave.
What's your worst nightmare underground? And meeting these guys is pretty much your worst nightmare.
It was just complete gut instinct reactions.
We were supposed to stand still. I was screaming at the other side of the room.
They are physically quite revolting.
Blue-veined and
Slimy, hideous, writhing, biting.
It actually makes your stomach turn.
Tráilers, visita mi canal.
57, take 1B camera.
Action!
I'd never done something with so much action in it, something that was so physically demanding.
All of us had preparation for the physical side of things. We went caving in Derbyshire and went to a climbing hall.
We learnt basic climbing techniques and how to abseil and use a harness.
like after this film, I'm actually quite a good climber, and that's very cool.
And working at Pinewood, every day of the shoot has just been a blast. Something's happened, something funny or something spectacular. There's been a great stunt or things just falling into place along the way.
The worst part of working on this film is how long it takes to shower all the muck off at the end of the day.
Working with an all-female cast has been an absolute dream.
7 weeks, really intense filming, all female, and I thought, oh well, this is going to be interesting.
I confess that I went into it cautiously.
Everybody's going, oh my God, it's going to be a nightmare, and it hasn't at all been.
It was great working with all the girls, actually. They're all really fun. We've had a laugh. We've had a really good time on set and just hanging out.
These girls are game for anything, and on screen they're just mind-blowing. They're a really, really solid bunch.
This way! Man! Hi! Let's go!
I'd seen Dog Soldiers and I loved it and I wanted to work with Neil.
It's so inspiring how much love and passion he has for film and especially horror. When he talks about it, he becomes like a little boy. He's talking about the gore.
Horror films are a lot of fun to make and a lot of fun to watch audiences watching. You can hear the jumps and the screams and the laughs, and that's very satisfying from a filmmaker's point of view. I think there must be a dark streak running through me, but I do love scaring people.
It was an opportunity for me to play a really well thought out character, and because it's horror, it's like everything is extreme, and that's such an amazing thing to be able to do.
We've got a fantastic crew, a fantastic cast. Everyone's having a really good time making it. We're splashing blood around left, right and centre. We're smashing things up, killing monsters.
And we've all been laughing that it's 6 chicks with picks.
6 girls in lycra, hot, sweaty, dirty, fantastic.
Everybody who likes a good film and likes a good adventure, a good story, good acting, a bit of horror, a bit of scares, will like this film.
Maybe nobody with the faint heart, though.
aquí tus trailers, visita mi canal.
Don't get too tired, just...
Got it.
Got that, thank you very much. Building camera.
The eyeline to the water, isn't it?
No.
And Neil.
She came out here last week to check the route out. It's rule number 1, foul a flag can and stick to it. And rule number 2, don't go wandering off. You think it's dark when you turn out the light? Well, down there, it's pitch black.
Put into there. I'd imagine that you're kind of wanting to, it's a bit
Can I be up there?
icky.
I kind of want to carry on.
Yeah. So over there would be good for you.
Okay.
That's the route.
So I get in with my
You
camera,
get
do I?
stuck in there with the hey, go, click, click, click.
Woo! So that's a good bag.
Well, don't stay too far back. Go back on.
Say when, Sam. Stop there. Hold it there, please, Bob.
Just up a touch.
Tiny bit higher, please, mate.
Go and action. Two away, take one. We go and action. We need to give it a little bit. Fantastic. Okay.
Yeah.
No, it's quite good actually. It's really hard.
It needs to come up a little bit.
That's what we're going to do. We're going to come up 2 or 3 inches. Johnny's going to do that. Alex, do you want to climb?
We'll make it that much. I mean, it needs another. Pat yourself down.
No. We drop this one in as well.
Oh, you guys are.
357, take 1B camera.
Okay, here we go. And 4 and action.
Okay. Who's first? I'll go. Going. There you go, baby. Good girl. Yeah! Now you make it look easy.
Here we go, and action. Take one. Camera. Here we go. And action. And cut it there. Cut there. Bravo. Bravo. Action. And action.
All right. Is everybody okay?
The conduct was truly atrocious. It was really, I mean, it looks great, but it's just, it's always, when I saw it cut together, it's just all over the place. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
And action!
I don't think you're going to need one. It's fine. I don't think you're going to need one. It's fine.
Yep. And then round to your left, and then that's it.
Several reasons. First of all, I really like the story. I love films with a good story in it. And I love the whole adventure aspect of it. It's so challenging for a film if you learn a new skill. Like after this film, I'm actually quite a good climber, and that's very cool. And also watching Dog Soldiers, Neil's previous film, it's very inspiring to see someone's made a good film before, because it means you can really trust them, and it's a nice feeling for an actor. The way I prepared mentally for this part is I almost always, when I start working on a character, I start writing a diary as the character. So for me then things become very precise, and you start also, you find out in the beginning similarities, but then also the differences. So one thing which for me was very important with Rebecca is very, very, very safety. Safety first, so always look around and see which things could possibly be dangerous. See how are people around you doing? Do they look like they could be flipping out or not? So to get into that thing and make that natural, kind of spend a few days, a few weeks, really annoying your friends, going, checking them out the whole time, and just situations on the street. And that for me was very important. Funnily enough, what scares me, and probably Neil is about to find that out when he sees this, but what scares me is heights, which is kind of ridiculous, as you know, I've been doing all the climbing stuff. But as long as I look up, I'm fine. Just don't look down. Neil's just been an absolute joy to work with, also on so many different ways. I mean, as a director, I just really trust him, and that's such a lovely space to be in, because you are quite vulnerable when you're acting. But also, one thing that I really, really admire about him is he's just such a cool guy. And on this film, just the atmosphere has just been fantastic. Everybody's been getting on really well, and I really always think that comes from the director. And last but definitely not least is it's so inspiring how much love and passion he has for film, and especially horror. When he talks about it, he becomes like a little boy just talking about the gore. So yeah, that's really nice. It's just been an absolute joy to work with. Working with an all-female cast has been really cool. When I said that to my friends, you go, yeah, I'm doing this film with 6 girls, and everybody's going like, oh my god, it's going to be a nightmare, it's going to be so bitchy, and it hasn't at all been. It's just been really, really, really nice. It's just like going to work with 5 of your best mates, so yeah, good stuff. I think a lot of people who wouldn't usually be that attracted to the horror genre would really enjoy this film, because it has got so many more aspects of just, I mean, the gross stuff's definitely in there. Some of the prosthetics, I look and I want to vomit, but there is, I think there's a lot of relationships, a lot of the psychological stuff that is really interesting, and the fact that it doesn't start off with horror, scene number 1. It's, to me, it's a lot more than just that. So, and then of course there's the fact that it's, and we've all been laughing that it's 6 chicks with picks and that they're going down. So that's good too.
The film is about 6 pretty feisty, fine-looking women that decide to go caving. They want to go caving because it's a way of sort of coming together again and hopefully bringing the group closer, because there's been sort of a fracture within the group within the year previous to them going on this trip. And as they descend further and further into this cave, things start to go drastically wrong. And they're thrown into extreme circumstance after extreme circumstance, and it gets more violent, more vicious as the film goes along, and you see the fracture of the friendships and the fracture of minds, and the essence is really, you know, survival, blood, a lot of sexy sweat, and betrayal, I'd say. I wanted to do this film because, for me, as an Asian actor, one of the key things was that it wasn't written as an Asian character. It was an opportunity for me to play a really well thought out character, which was very full. She's such a massive contradiction. She's fearless. She's completely cowardly at times as well. She's probably the most gung-ho of the group. She has an ability to focus incredibly well, but then when it comes to anything emotional, she can actually really lose it. So it's this, you know, she's got this huge spectrum of emotions that she kind of goes through and experiences, and that for any actor is like a real blessing. You don't come across those sorts of characters very often, and because it's horror, it's like everything is extreme, and that's such an amazing thing to be able to do. It's great. Mentally, I think as an actor, I think it's really important to have a vivid imagination. It's different for everybody, I suppose. You have to really believe in your surroundings, you know, with camera people, with makeup checks, with all that going on. You have to really believe in this world and build a very rich, creative inner life for the character. But I think that's, you know, every actor has their own little magical box, which I don't like to expose it, because I probably wouldn't be able to cry instantly or do all that if I did. So I'm kind of superstitious about revealing those things. So Neil has been absolutely fantastic. I think we've been really lucky to have someone that really listens and has allowed us to collaborate with him. I remember him saying that he wasn't interested in us playing one-dimensional characters, and I think in horror it's very easy to do that, because, you know, horror can easily be rely heavily on a formula, and he really allowed us to you know, flesh these characters out, give them lots of different levels, give them a backstory, and we really worked hard on those backstories. And I mean, I don't know if it's going to come through on the screen. I hope it does, but that was brilliant. And his patience, he's been really patient and always given us space. Who do I think would like this film? I can't imagine anyone not liking the film. I think, you know, men, 6 girls in lycra, hot, sweaty, dirty, fantastic. In terms of, it's you know, it's such a great thing that there are 6 female lead characters. I think women should support it, and it's a laugh, it's great fun, it's a lot of action, it's horrific drama, it's all good. Yeah.
Tráilers.
This film is about 6 adventurous, contemporary women going on a caving adventure that goes horribly wrong, and they encounter something very nasty in the depths of the earth. As with a lot of ideas, myself and my business partner came up with it on the train on the way back from London. We had various sort of script meetings about this, that and the other, and we were always just knocking ideas back and forth, and I always wanted to do a horror film set in a cave. I just thought it was a fantastic environment. It had barely been touched upon in horror films, although it's the classic environment, and you know, horror films are best set in the dark, and you can't get any more dark than this in the caves. Working with an all-female cast, an ensemble cast, has been an absolute dream. I confess that I went into it cautiously, having worked with a pretty much all-male ensemble cast on Dog Soldiers. That was a blast. We were kind of in the bar every night, whatever, and I knew it was going to be very different working with 6 women. But at the end, we've managed to achieve that same atmosphere of collaboration and a good sense of fun, but also a good sense of professionalism, and everybody's just mucking in, and these girls are game for anything, and on screen they're just mind-blowing. They're a really, really solid bunch, and it's been a dream to work with them. I'm absolutely over the moon with the way that the crawlers have turned out. They're incredibly physical and virile, and fierce looking, but and their colouring and everything, and it's all to do with being in the pitch dark, and what's your worst nightmare underground, and meeting these guys is pretty much your worst nightmare. Slimy, hideous, writhing, biting monsters. I made a deliberate point of keeping the crawlers away from the girls, that the girls would never get to see the crawlers until, as per the story, they met one in a shot that we were filming. We did an actual take and introduced the crawler into the scene so that they would meet him for the first time then. I just wanted to see what the effect would be, and also it really helped build up a tension and an anticipation that they were getting really, really nervous about meeting the crawlers for the first time. They didn't know what to expect. They hadn't seen any pictures, they had no idea what they were going to look like. So it was just a lot of fun doing that and playing around with that, and they got really on edge about it. And so when we did the take and introduced the crawler, they just snapped. They went running off into the dark screaming. They built for weeks. They'd been building up this image of being these really hard ass, tough as nails girls. As soon as the crawler shows up, it's hands in the air and running away like a big bunch of pansies. Horror films are a lot of fun to make and a lot of fun to watch audiences watching. To sit amongst an audience watching a good horror film and gauge their reaction. You can hear the fear, you can hear the gasps, you can hear the jumps and the screams and the laughs and all that kind of stuff that you get when you're watching a horror film. It's a very audible reaction that you get, and that's very satisfying from a filmmaker's point of view. So I just love scaring the pants off people. Everybody will like this film. Everybody who likes a good film and likes a good adventure, a good story, good acting, a bit of horror, a bit of scares, will like this film. It's not a guy's film, and it's not a girl's film. It's something for everyone.
I was a bit worried about working with an all-female cast. I love all my female friends, but it was 7 weeks really intense filming, all female, and I thought, oh well, this is going to be interesting, because the dynamics are completely different when it's all female, or when it's all male, or when it's mixed. But actually, because the crew is all, well, not all male, that's not, but the camera department is mostly male, and we've got a male director. It kind of balances out and you don't really notice it, but it's fantastic because we are very friendly. We had to bond really quickly. We were doing climbing the first week of knowing each other, where you're holding the rope and you're basically, your friend's up there on a wall. Your friend you've known for half an hour is up on the wall, and you've got her life in your hand. So it was great, and I've made friends with them all, and I'm sure we'll keep in contact. And we're kind of female, but not really, because we're really all just fucking going for it, and doing really physically demanding things. And the point that we're female is totally insignificant, I think. Well, we all did a course of climbing, and I did some private tuition for climbing. So I tried to look, even though it doesn't specifically state in the script that, Sarah is a climber, I wanted to look like I could climb something
Y tus
quite easily.
tráilers.
So we did a
Visita mi
course of
canal.
climbing, we did whitewater rafting training, we went real caving underground, and just generally kept fit because it's a very physically demanding job. When we were filming The Fisher, because it's so stoppy and starty, and I hate to spoil the illusion, but this is mostly polystyrene, so you know it doesn't feel like you're trapped in a fissure, in a tunnel. But it was, because I am claustrophobic, I suppose it was quite easy to pretend. But it wasn't that scary, no. It was really sore, actually, because we were in that, we had to crawl through this fissure all morning and really fast. So the pain actually helped the, hyperventing more than anything else. It's good working with Neil, because Neil's very free to change things. And he actually encourages coming to set with an open mind about things, even in terms of the dialogue. And sometimes I find that frustrating. In other situations I find it frustrating when you get new lines on the day, or why don't we try it completely different to how it's written. But in this experience it's been really enlightening, actually, and lots of fun. And it's nice to sort of bring that part of your sort of skills out. It's not improvising. It's maybe a bit more ad-libbing, but it's sort of thinking of all the possibilities you could play the scene in.
I just graduated from drama school, so this is my first feature film, and I've had the opportunity to work with an amazing director and amazing actors and a great crew, and I get to die in the most brilliantly horrific way possible. That's why I wanted to just do this film. I prepared physically for the role by joining the other girls in a few weeks of rock climbing lessons with our trainer Brian, who took us to climbing centres where we sort of learnt how to we learnt basic climbing techniques and how to abseil and use a harness and rig up ropes, which is really, really exciting. Another skill learnt. When we first saw him, it was wicked when we first saw him, because there was just it was just complete gut instinct reactions. We weren't actually meant to move, we were just meant to clock him, scream, and stay in one position. But we all saw him and just scattered all over left, right and centre, so we had to shoot the whole thing again, which was fine, because by then we were all going but yeah, it was brilliant. It was really good. Poor man, I wonder what this poor crawler is thinking, because he's just seeing all these girls around him going ah! I'll tell you what's really cool about this film, actually, is working on these mad sets. You actually have to kind of see them to believe them, because they're these really realistic caves and alcoves and tunnels which suddenly open up into these huge sort of rooms filled with the most amazing sort of stone architecture, and it's all a form of polystyrene, which is just mind-blowing, and it's great to work with, because although you of course you're surrounded by crew and cameras on sort of several sides, you can sort of just turn your face slightly and it's as if you're actually in a real cave, and you get the same sense of claustrophobia that you get when you're caving.
He's very collaborative. Absolutely knows what he wants, but is confident enough, I guess, in his abilities to actually, take the best of everybody's contributions. So, I think he's terrific. I mean, he works very closely with Sam McCurdy, his DOP. It's a very dynamic relationship that's yielded some great stuff. Simon Bowles, production designer. He's also wonderful with the actresses, in as much as he allows them the space to actually have input into their characters and appropriate them to a degree. and naturalise them. So he's fully in control without being a control freak, which is great. The raising finance was pretty easy, in as much as Celador Films, who's the production company, is also the financier. It's the company that I run with Paul Smith, and we're producing films but also investing in them. So we didn't have to go and raise money off third parties. It was really a question of persuading ourselves that we wanted to go with this one. So that was a very straightforward process. Development was also relatively straightforward. As I've just said, Neil came in and pitched the idea to me about 2.5 years ago. I really wanted to work with him. I really liked the basic story idea. And we worked through draft by draft over the last 2.5 years. I mean, I don't know how we've done, 10, 15 maybe drafts. Just getting it to, you know, the point at which we decided it was good enough to make. But every draft got better and better. Not especially, I'm not not a horror film fan. I'm not in Neil's league, that's for sure. It has been great fun, however, you know, studying the genre for the purposes of working on this film and developing the story, etc., etc. So I guess I'm more of a horror film fan than I was before. I guess the traditional audience for a film like this would be 18 to 25-year-olds, boys and girls. But I think, you know, there's a real, you know, it's a genre film, obviously, and I think it's going to deliver in terms of all the thrills and spills and gore that those films need to have in them. But there's a quality of intelligence about it, which I think gives us a real possibility of attracting a broader audience than just the pure genre audience. You know, basically an older audience too, one would hope.
For this film, we're doing all the creatures, all the prosthetic violence towards the humans in it. All the girls get compound fractures, head splits open, throat gets ripped out, girl gets a bite, all the dead animals, giant elk, and what was it, 2 goats, 2 sheep, 2 cows, and all the stunt weapons. Human prosthetics, basically all the girls get something, apart from Sarah. We have Sam, who gets her throat ripped out, and that's a prosthetic which is a throat piece which will go around her neck, and a plug which is put in, and this will all be coloured to her, and her throat literally gets ripped out and blood will gush out. And Juno will get her leg stabbed. Paul, at the start, gets a scaffold pole through his head, made a head for that. And Holly gets her neck ripped out, as well as a compound fracture to her leg, this was the actual prosthetic which was used on Holly, which basically is a silicone skin, which was just a slip-on, and we had some bone pieces which would go in, and basically there was blood tubing coming each way, which would just bleed and bleed and bleed. And as Sam tries to push a bone in, which it would just slip in like that, blood would just absolutely gush out. Most challenging aspects of this film was the scale of just making everything in such a short amount of time, doing 9 full-body creatures, loads of dead animals, stunts, 1,000 bones that we manufactured, all the human violence, and giving all the creatures their own distinct personality, so they don't all look like the same, really, trying to give the female ones a personality, the male ones, giving them making some vicious, some slightly less vicious, and just trying to do something a bit different, which hasn't been seen before.
There is nothing in the film that is, I don't think, deep and meaningful at all. It's actually just off the wall, and it's Neil's attempt again at creating something that's very entertaining, very mad, and just, you know, something a bit different from the normal horror film. You know, Neil's always got some, like, a little twist in what he does, and I think this one just doesn't stop. It's a bit relentless and a bit off the wall, and Neil's just got a magnificent imagination, which I think that's what this film is. It's an exploration of his mind, and I don't want to be in his mind because it's scary. Originally it took about 5 hours to be made up, but now they've dropped that down to 3.5 hours. So it's somewhere between 3.5 to 4 hours, and then throughout the day there's constant touch-ups and reapplications of the paint, and sometimes the prosthetics have to be refixed and glued. So you're constantly being made throughout the day, but the first initial setup is about 3.5 hours. Well, we're hid from the girls right up until the first scene where there was any kind of attack from a crawler, and that was really good fun actually, and it also gave a bit of an edge because the makeup is fantastic. I mean the special effects are incredible. The prosthetics are fantastic, but there is also that thing of when you first come out, people go, "Oh right, that's interesting," but because it was in the scene, the girls were expecting something and didn't know what to expect, and of course you arrive and they get a shock and you kind of get a shock as well, and it was just brilliant. It was fantastic to be hidden away from them, and a lot of fun.
I really wanted to do this movie because it's a great script, and all the action, all the stunts and everything else, it's been really fun doing all the training and kind of really getting into it. I've seen Dog Soldiers and I thought it was really good, so I was really excited about it. The worst part of working on this film has been the cold water. Lying in cold water. That's it really. I've loved everything else. Before we started filming, I came in and I did a full body cast. They just put it in mould and just made a full prosthetic of my body for obviously when I'm dead and throwing me down a pit. It's really bizarre. It's not nice at all, actually. It looks really real, but your arm's like twisted sideways and stuff. Yeah, a bit odd. And the prosthetics that I had, first off, I had broken my leg, so it was just a slip-on prosthetic of my leg, bones, and ligaments, and basically a pump, blood pump. Then after that, I mean, I just had a neck piece. I just wrapped around with where I'm attacked by the crawler, and they take a chunk out of my neck, and that as well had a pump. It was a gusher, and that was quite fun. I think I get to keep that. This one's changed me in the way that it's very technical, so I've kind of gotten used to that. As far as because of the stunts and the camera angles and the lighting, and you have to make sure of safety and just timing and everything else. It's just from start to finish, it has been very technical, and it's great because it gives me a chance to get better at that and practice at it. So.
This film is about 6 girls who are all friends and share a passion for climbing and the outdoors and things like that, and one weekend they go on an adventure together down a cave and things go a bit wrong. I wanted to do this film mainly because I'd seen Dog Soldiers and I loved it and I wanted to work with Neil. And once I'd read the script, I just thought it was interesting to have an all-female cast, and the whole physical side of the film appealed to me, really. The best part in general of working on the film has been the atmosphere. It's been a great, cast and crew, quite a calm set. And again, sort of all the physical stuff, having the opportunity to do that, because I don't think you get that very often. I loved filming in Scotland, out on location, and the whitewater rafting in particular. It was all quite exciting. The worst part of working on this film is how long it takes to shower all the muck off at the end of the day. And the skin scrubbing, not good. Yeah, being kept apart from the crawlers, I think was probably a good idea, because it did build up an anticipation and adrenaline, and a competition to see if anyone could spot one before we were supposed to. So that kind of, I think, added that we didn't, get to see them or meet them even as actors too earlier on. But no, it was good. It was beneficial.
For this film, we did a lot of research. We went caving to various caves in the UK to see, to try and get stuck in tiny, small spaces and to be in awe of the huge spaces. We did lots of reference on the internet and through books and talking to people. That's one of the wonderful things about my job, is that I do get to talk to a lot of people, meet interesting people, and wheedle out all the lovely information out of them. In the movie, there are so many different caves, so many large ones and small ones. It's a real mixture. And we've had an interesting time trying to give them names that refer to each other so we can talk about them in meetings and things. So they've all got their own character and they've all got their own names. Many caves. Too many, really. Because we're restricted to space here at Pinewood Studios and money, we've created a system where we're revamping the caves. So we're only basically building 6 caves, but changing the look through colour and texture. So adding stalactites, maybe making one of them wet, one of them very dry and dusty. So we're hopefully fooling the audience into thinking that the cave system is much bigger than what we're actually building. During the shooting of the film, there have been many high points. The crew are brilliant, absolutely wonderful, and that's working really nicely and having a great time with them. Another high point is being based here at Pinewood Studios. It's a big deal for quite a few of the crew and the heads of department.